Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it is the 15th day of July 2025. Welcome to our show today. First off, we're going to be on with John Tatar with Lawful Defense, and we're going to be talking about the Michigan Constitution, as well as some of the posts I've done on Telegram and X, which include Michigan political scene and the post by Laura Loomer having to do with Lisa McClain and perhaps activities which could lead to a charge of treason. She leaked congressional documents to Qataris who are connected to jihadists and Hamas. So right now I'm actually waiting for my TikTok video to see if it'll get through the algorithm, because you can't tell the truth or you get censored. And then at 10 o'clock, Mike Bambas is going to be on, and this is going to be kind of fun because he has some great information on some more truth and realities behind AxMiTax. Now, I've been beating this up pretty good because I've actually looked into it, and we're going to be going to that next. But I am going to bring on my buddy, John Tatar. How you doing, Mr. Tatar?
I'm good. I'm good. All is well on this side of the world.
Yeah, that's good. It's such a crazy. It's such a crazy time to be alive in Michigan. And you know what? I'm going to see if I can pull up the video.
I would say it's exciting, actually, because we're exposing the dirt and the rats, and a lot of them are going to be fleeing the world, fleeing the country.
I think that's absolutely true. President Trump is always bait. So look at the chain of events. First of all, we have the Qatari plane incident, and now everybody's looking at Qatar. And then you go from that to all of a sudden realizing that Lisa McClain has been taking lots of trips over to Qatar. She's dancing around and hanging out with every single person she traveled with, including Swalwell, is a Democrat. So that brings everything into question there. Like, who is wearing which mask, and as we unmask this political nonsense.
We would never know otherwise.
Well, that's why I talk to everyone. I get dinged for it all the time. But let me tell you, you talk with everyone because you really don't always know who you're talking with. There's very few people that I will actually give the title of friend. I consider you a friend. I know your integrity good enough to say that, that John Tatar's a good guy. Okay. But anybody else that you're talking to at events or anything, hey, stranger danger, guys. Okay. I actually found somebody out when I was in DC last week. I had no idea. Talked to this person a couple times who is openly a swinger. And this apparently is a bigger problem than what we could possibly imagine. And I'm like, I cannot come to terms with this. I'm not dealing with this well. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And it's kind of disturbing. But anyhow, I'm going to read a quote by Laura Loomer that I think is important. And if I can bring up the dancing at the rooftop party that Laura Loomer put out, which to me, I know Laura Loomer and such, and I've had her on the show before. She does a good job explaining things. However, somebody dancing at a rooftop DC party is kind of like the norm. And I'll tell you why this is kind of like, it maybe gets people's attention. But the real issue here is that she leaked congressional documents. Now, I know that's too boring for most people. So they got to have something in there that includes sex and rock and roll to get anybody to stop and look at this. But if you've ever gone to rooftop parties, I have. I think it's a bad idea to drink. And so that's something that I do not think is a good idea to engage in, because people get stupid real fast. The music is so loud that unless you're sitting right next to someone, and I mean this close, nothing can be heard that's said there. And I think that that's done intentionally so that you can pass information. It's a great place for people to pass information back and forth. When I go there, I'm meeting people, I'm getting contacts and that sort of thing. And you can have some conversations, but not great ones, because nobody can hear what's going on. But seeing somebody that's dancing with a bunch of people who are Qataris, we don't even know who was there. So it was kind of like clickbait. But what's behind it is leaking. It is the leaking of congressional records. So the quote is, "Nothing says happy birthday, America, like partying with fundraisers or funders of Hamas and leaking congressional memos to Muslim jihadis from Qatar so that the Muslim professors and anti-Jewish professors at American universities can get the questions ahead of time. Laura Loomer. And I wrote about this, and I'm just going to read a couple of these posts so that we understand the climate there. This is why they hate me. Everybody hates me in the political realm, who is part of the establishment, because unfortunately I will throw out their dirty little secrets. I don't really care to be part of that club. The incestuous relationship by the political class, especially in Michigan, is shocking. Lisa McClain is a poster child for the big money allies, and doesn't matter where the money comes from, apparently. The Uniparty in Michigan is ostensibly a well-oiled, connected machine of collusion, extortion, money laundering, and racketeering. Quid pro quo is the qualifier, and money buys the seats and influence. I'm not surprised to see this information come out after attending a Republican St. Clair County event Lisa McClain was involved in, and I did. I was there with Robert Cowper and my buddy Chris, who is a really interesting person and also a professional profiler, which is fantastic to travel with. For those who are paying attention, highlighting intentionally this whole event, what I saw there is they were highlighting international spying by AT&T. And AT&T and the president was there. And I was like, I picked up on it right away. And AT&T was crossing the border into Canada with their communication lines, thus enabling the Five Eyes surveillance that was going on there, and also capturing they were announcing the capture of the dispatch system for first responders. So guess what? This is a globalist piece of nonsense that was going on. So she's up there, doing the crazy stuff, and watching the inappropriate behavior, which dropped to an all-time low-class smoochy fest up there with "I love you, you love me," Barney the purple freaking dinosaur. I'm not kidding you. I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh. Could you get any stupider? St. Clair County Republican Party with Gary Peters sitting up there, watching the inappropriate behavior, which dropped. Let's see. How could, here I go. How could anyone take her seriously at this point in time? You got Lisa McClain's little squeaky voice. "I love you, you love me." And I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm just done with this, right? And she's more like, right now, seeing the connections with Qatar, she's more like Pelosi, Feinstein, Jocelyn Benson, all of them. Benson was going over to the many countries over in the Middle East. The whole thing is just one great big globalist freaking grab the money party. And anytime anybody sees me fundraising, you should ask some questions, but I'm pretty sure the tables are about to get flipped in Michigan, considering what I know about the swingers and the other licentious behavior that's going on here. I'm just shocked, absolutely shocked. Also, we've been warned that there are jihadi sleeper cells within and operatives within our borders. This is linked to the funding of the universities. And so here you go. The roll is happening. The walls are going to start tumbling down here. And I think it's going to be pretty amazing. But anyhow, just to clarify, the scandal wasn't that Lisa McClain was dancing at a DC party on the roof. That's what all DC parties are like. That's what they're like. The rooftop parties, that's exactly what they were like. I saw it when I was at James O'Keefe's party, and he promised all of this great information that was coming out. Nothing came out. And I'm telling you, nothing. And there were some people there that were from the Republican Party of New York City, and they were pissed. They're like, this is amazing. I'm like, yeah, it's just another excuse for a big party. That's what it is. So anyhow, even good people, though, get caught up in these parties, and it's crazy. There was one woman that I know there who is a loyal Trump supporter. She got there, and I have a question about what they're pouring, too, at these parties, because when you see the behavior, she's a nice person. I like her, and she is a very strong patriot. I walked past her on the sidewalk, and she was vomiting all over the sidewalk as I was going back to the hotel with Erlina. Erlina and I always travel together, and our husbands are wonderful. They support our fighting for these causes, which is wonderful. And this is just the way it is. I don't think that the normal person is ready for exactly how absolutely corrupt this is. And I'm just going to say, anybody that sticks with that Republican Party is not only complicit, they're stupid, because the Republican Party, the Democrat parties are taking foreign money. They're all up in the business of all of these foreign entities and countries in a big way with the State Department. And if anybody thinks that doing the same thing is going to yield different results, it's insane. That's a true definition of insanity, and it is stupidity. And so there you go. And with that said, I'm the chairman of the U.S. Taxpayers Party, which is the Constitution Party in Michigan, suing Jocelyn Benson and Jonathan Brader and winning at this point in time. And so if you want to see something that actually works, you might want to reach out to something that isn't a criminal enterprise. I rest my case. I yield. So I want to see if I can pull up the Lisa McLean dancing on the rooftop. That wouldn't be enough for me to impugn her character, because they're all doing it. What impugns her character is the leaking of congressional information. And I think that clickbait is a stupid person's pursuit. Let's see if I can find it here a minute. Yeah, here we go. But this is pretty normal for a DC party. Okay, let's see if I can full screen it here. Okay, but just so everybody knows, if you've never been to DC, you probably wouldn't have experienced this. And I'm kind of glad that I have first person testimony on a lot of this stuff, because you can see through the smoke and mirrors if you're paying a little bit of attention. So anyhow,
I thought that integrity was one of the main focuses of public functionaries who we hire and put in office. We expect them to be a cut above the average people. And in most cases, what you're showing on this, certainly their little dance party, is that they're a cut below the average person.
It's all about a big party, and they do fundraisers. They have a fundraiser, they have a fundraiser, they have a fundraiser to continue to fund their little trips and their dance parties and such. And quite honestly, Donna Brandenburg funds her own trips. Okay. And so that is, and I haven't really asked anybody for donations. And so, a few people, I'm like, well, if you feel like jumping on to help at any point in time, but I've told everybody, keep your money. Your family needs it. They've got unlimited money because they're printing it.
That's right. They're printing funny money. It's the fake world that we live in.
Yeah,
and
don't
get it. People don't get it. We are living in a fake world with a fake government, with a fake bunch of public functionaries.
With fake issues like AxMiTax for the village idiots to jump on.
It's all fake.
It's all fake.
All fake.
The language, and this is another thing. I'm going to beat up AxMiTax in the next hour again. But even all of these proposals, you only see the language on the ballot. Most people never get it ahead of time, so it's not informed consent. Most people do not look up and read the entire language that's on the ballot for proposals, besides the fact that it's an unlawful process, right? but it is approved by the Board of Elections, who has been active in rigging our elections, destroying data, which Jonathan Brader, I was there, I watched him do it, admitted to destroying election data without having the authority to do so last week in the trial of Stephanie Scott. So these people have already admitted that, and he's perjured himself, and there's the one that are approving the language. Unbelievable. Okay, I digress. I'm good.
Well, voting for the public, voting on amendments and referendums is not a republic form of government. It is a democracy. And they are working their tails off to keep us in a democracy, because when in a democracy, it is 51% versus 49%. 51% get what they want, and the 49% do not. And then next election or whatever, they can flip it. And the people that voted 49% at one point are now at the 51%, so they get their way, and this goes back and forth like a seesaw. And in this process, there is no stability in our government. It goes every which way, back and forth, back and forth. We have the far left and the far right, if you want to call them, and the conservatives and the Republic or the liberals, and it just our Michigan has been that way for years. They put a Republican governor in, and then a couple of years later, they put a Democratic governor in, and we never get anywhere.
And look at this: we're like funding both sides of the conflict in the Middle East.
Of course,
there is no winners there. There's no one to support there.
And the people, the general public, are cannon fodder. They're the ones that are going to pay for it. They're the ones that are paying the tax on it, or the monies to these public functionaries, and we are the ones that are in the middle of the war and that are fighting the war. It's always been that way for a long time, because they don't know what the republic is. And people get sidetracked, such as AxMiTax is a distraction from the republic. So is some of the other ballot initiatives that they put out there. The last 3 amendments on the Constitution, that's a distraction from the republic. We need to return to the republic. People need to know what the republic is and demand. And it's easy to demand once you know what you are and who you are and what's going on. It's easy to demand from the public functionaries the correct way of things to be done, because it is written in black and white on the Constitution.
Well, this is what I've been working on. One of the things I've been working on for the Constitution Party here in Michigan, which is the U.S. Taxpayers Party, by the way. We are the Michigan affiliate. The thing I've been working on is a contract, because we have ballot access, and I decided to propose this to our EC. I said, I think we need to have a method for accountability. So I think we need to, as in a group standing or enabling somebody to get on the ballot, we should be able to vet those candidates.
Oh, that's what
they are. So I started writing a contract for, just like you would in, like a job qualification. First 2 items there is, have you read the Michigan Constitution and the federal Constitution? If the answer is no, it's an immediate disqualification. And if they lie about it, they're going to perjure themselves when we sue them when they fail to uphold the Constitution. And I think that this is something that has to be done. I mean, if there's no bite because they can disappear in the paperwork of our government, somebody has to step forward and do some advanced accountability measures.
What is the function of a delegate? A delegate to the Republican Party or a delegate to the Democratic Party? What's their function?
Well, their function is supposed to represent the people of their communities in their designated areas. However, that's not how it works. They flipped it upside down, and they only let the delegates in that they believe will vote with a party. It's the party. I've heard Melinda Pego say this all the time. I will always vote with the party. I'm loyal to the party. I will vote for the party. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I know Melinda. I mean, Melinda was in DC when we were there, and she said it several times when we were there. It's like, you can't do this. You've got to vote with your own integrity. And when you see something wrong, if you're running around with somebody who is an open swinger and you're hiding it, you're complicit. And that's
more important, the delegates of the parties are the function of the delegates are to vet the people that they're putting in the position for office. And that's where it breaks down, because we have morons that are delegates. We have people that want to become a delegate so they can hang on their shirt or whatever that I'm a delegate for the Republican Party or a Democrat Party. But they're morons. They're not doing their job.
Investigate. How have they done any investigation? None. Zero.
I hear these delegates say, oh, I listened to so-and-so speaking. Oh, they're such good speakers. I'm going to vote for that person. Well, what do you know about that person? Oh, he's just he looks so cute. He's so handsome, or she's so pretty, or whatever. It has nothing to do with who they are and their integrity and their background. It only has to do with their outside appearance and their the way they can schmooze people on the platform. But the background of who they are, where they came from, or what they've done in the past doesn't come out. And that's what the purpose of the delegates. They're not supposed to expect the citizens to go out and vet these people, because we're not connected with it. We're a little bit of a distance. We kind of rely upon the delegates to go out and do their job, and they're not doing their job. And
well, I would rather hate somebody personally and just dislike them, and know that I've got a couple people that work for me that I'm like, I don't particularly like their personality. I don't particularly like them, but they do a great job. I don't have to like somebody to know that they've got ethics and that they will do a great job. This is not about a high school rah-rah group where we go all hang out, except that's what it's turned into. You want people that are professional enough to do the job. And even if they're going to be a complete and utter, I don't even know the word. I don't want to say the word I want to say, but it's like, if they're going to be a complete and utter hostile person in the right situation, that personality trait is like, if it's integrity coupled with unwavering, going to say what needs to be said, that's a great combination for someone. I mean, they kicked Scott Ogney out of the Republican Party convention because he told the freaking truth. He's done more work on election integrity, though I don't always agree with Scott, but he's done more work on that, especially with the locus standi and all of the people in locus standi than pretty much anyone. Them and Election Integrity Force, Sandy Kiesel and Joanne Bacali. They're fantastic, but that doesn't mean everybody within all those organizations are necessarily who they say they are. And I think we've got a few, turds in the punch bowl, as you say, that really, the turds that will not be flushed. They just keep recycling over and over and over again. It's like, it is what it is. It's real.
Well, we have to go way back again. We talk about grassroots. We talk about getting to the very essence of what this system is all about. And that essence is the grassroots or the delegates. That's their job. But then when we go to the polls to vote, we don't know who these delegates are. We see their name or we know them as an acquaintance, and you don't know the other person, so you vote for the acquaintance, and the acquaintance may not be what should be in office, what should have that position. So the problem is that we as the individual should know who our delegates are and know what kind of integrity they have, and what are they going to do when they get to that position that they're going to pick candidates to run on those parties. And we don't do that. And therefore we get crap.
Yeah, I think that's
that doesn't never flushes.
Yeah, that's a really good point, though. It's like, what research are they doing themselves, or is it just a party slate? Yes. If somebody is, that's how they're part of they're rigging it. And I really don't believe there's any truth in any part of our elections. Anyone that makes it in is there because they were placed. They're not even counting the ballots. Not only are they using fake IDs and having the software. I don't know if you heard of this guy. His name is Joseph Flynn, and they incarcerated him. He was a rep out in Connecticut. They incarcerated him because he was laying out exactly what was happening in the contracts with Connecticut, which came through to the state of Michigan for all the election software and how they were rigged. He even talks about the Serbians that were behind writing some of the code. So I think that this is all going to come out, but it went from Connecticut. I'll pull that. When you start talking, I'm going to pull that video up a minute of him talking. And it's like, dear God, you cannot make this stuff up.
No. Reality is more fictional than fiction is.
Yep, it's all one great big party, and you and I aren't in it. And if you are, they're going to attack you. It's really funny to see all of the shills around AxMiTax going after me. Oh, Donna Brandenburg, she's rich. We can't trust her. Well, you morons voted for Donald Trump, and he's rich. What does that have to do with anything? You know what I mean?
Well, they're using that as a marker. Then they're really out to lunch.
And it's like, has anybody ever seen anything about me that's a document, or is it just coming through Gateway Pundit, which is also a rag that owes me an apology by calling me Donna Brandenburg a billionaire, which I am not. Never seen that. Never even got close to that. It's like, are you kidding me? Because, I won't do those sort of things that it takes to get there within the current system. I'm happy shoveling horse shit. So in the barn, it's like, I'm not doing that. So anyhow, what are we talking about today, John?
Well, I think we probably should look at the Michigan Constitution, since many of these public functionaries are Michigan people. And a lot of the stuff is right here in our own backyard. We can't clean up our own backyard. How do we expect to clean up Washington? You can't. In fact, if you can't clean up your own county and your own city, you're not going to clean up the state. So it's got to go back to the grassroots. But we got to have some sort of logical course, or not course, but logical roadmap on which these public functionaries are supposed to operate. And in the state of Michigan, we have the Constitution of Michigan of '63, which incidentally, as far as I'm concerned, isn't a constitution and is fake, because it was voted by 0.1% of the public in Michigan. And you can't even amend the Constitution with 0.1% of the public, or 0.1% of Congress. And yet 0.1% of the Michigan people voted for this Constitution. So that means less than 1% of the population said, yes, we want it. And therefore the other 49% are suffering under this Constitution, which is a terrible constitution, because it does, even though it starts out pretty good, by the time it gets to the end, it takes away a lot of the freedoms and the privileges and the rights of the public.
One of the biggest gripes I have with all of this is that it creates protected classes of citizens and gives them special privileges, such as the Bar Association, which is not a license to practice law. It is a membership. It's a private membership association. There is no such thing as a license to practice law. And we should be able to do anything we want to represent ourselves.
Logically, if you look at that, the license to practice law, that means the rest of us are lawless, right? Because we can't practice law. So that argument gets in the way of logic when you go to court and they're pressing the law to you and saying you've got to do this, so you can't ride 40 miles an hour in a 30 mile an hour zone. That's the law, but we can't practice law.
Yeah. Well, that's a great argument. I didn't think about that one. That's
how does that work?
Yeah. Yeah. That is funny.
That is exactly the humor of the whole system that's set up right now. So, and then they say you can't represent somebody that's in the court system. You can't be a counsel to somebody. Then you're in violation of the 6th Amendment of the Constitution. How does that work out? You can't. That doesn't say lawyer. It doesn't say attorney. It says counsel. I have the right to counsel whoever I want to. And it's not a matter of practicing law. I'm not practicing anything. I either know the law or I don't know the law.
It's like a doctor joke too. They're in practice. That should scare all of us,
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're going to practice on you. You are the game, and we're going to see if we take your liver out, what happens to you.
Yeah, there you go. That's where you go. Okay, Lab Rat John and Lab Rat Donna. No, Great. Thank you.
Let's go back to the Constitution, which you had up there, and I think we ought to take a look at the preamble.
Okay.
The preamble says, "We the people." Oh, who are we the people? Are we the government? Are we the state of Michigan, the governor, or are we the people of Michigan? We, the people of the state of Michigan, grateful to Almighty God. Oh my goodness, there's another word in there that I don't recognize, because when you go to court and you swear, tell the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, they have dropped "so help me God" out of that. And they've also taken the Bible away. So you just raise your right hand and you say, "I swear that I'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth." To
so
who?
You swear nothing.
You're swearing nothing. So here we go again. We, the people of the state of Michigan, grant to Almighty God for the blessing of freedom. And freedom, that's a very sketchy word in this state. And the earnestly desire to secure these blessings undiminished to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish the Constitution. Excuse me. I wonder who has read that preamble. And I wonder if the people of this country, of the state of Michigan, realize that we are the ones that established the set of laws and rules and regulations for the public functionaries. This preamble is really kind of a powerful thing to put at the beginning, and it makes it really sound like this Constitution is built for the public, for the people, to protect us against a runaway government, an enslavement government, which we have in the state of Michigan, with the public functionaries who go to these rooftop parties and dance around with the stars over there and steal money and make deals against the state of Michigan and against the people. But this is, we're dealing with a small area right now, the state of Michigan. We're not dealing with the federal government. We're dealing with a small area, but the federal Constitution isn't any different. It's got a similar preamble. The problem that we have is people in general don't understand what that preamble means. Can we go to Article 1? Can you bring up the articles, because you just have them listed here? You don't have the verbiage of the articles.
Yeah, I sure can. I just had something come across the chat from Charlotte Cosmic, and it says, today they're voting on a bill to give chemical companies like Roundup full immunity. Call committee and stop them. You can't even make
Who's voting? Who's voting on this?
Who's voting, Charlotte?
Is it the legislature, or is it that they're throwing it
I
out?
don't know. We'll have to look this up, and I'll have to throw that one out there because that's a new one. You can't even keep up. I kind of like the way they've got this thing just divided up so you can see it. And they've got
but I want to go to Article 1, Section 1, which is what is the political power?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, you're going to do each individual. That would work.
Yeah, we'll do it this way. This is kind of cool because you can see the overall. It's like having a timeline. So,
all right.
Go ahead.
Very important. All political power is inherent in the people. Then why are we listening to Whitmer tell us that we have to wear masks and we have to close certain businesses down and we have to stand 6 feet apart? Why are we listening to that? Because all the political power is inherent in the people, not in the government. Government is instituted for their equal benefit, security, and protection. That's why we have a government. That's the purpose of the government, is to protect us from the
people like Lisa McLean, the traitor who leaked congressional documents for political favors for Qatar, we can rattle off how many names on this. I mean, it's crazy.
Yes, that's the problem. We have people that are government, that are part of the government, that are supposed to be instituted for the equal benefit and security. Equal benefit. In other words, if she makes $100,000, everybody in Michigan should be making that $100,000. Why is she taking money from foreign countries or wherever she's taking it from and pocketing it herself, instead of saying, oh, this really belongs to the public? This doesn't belong to me.
Well, think about it.
Serve the public.
If the government worked the way that it should and worked more like a business, it should actually be producing for the people of Michigan in a way. It could. Like, let's take for instance how Nestle has run off with all of the water. Started out with Ice Mountain, now it's Nestle. The people of Michigan own that resource. The company does not, and does not have the right to walk in there for $250 and get a permit to take billions and billions of dollars out of this state. And anyone who had so much as a little finger of involvement with this is a traitor to we the people. It should be like Alaska. Alaska, they pay a royalty to the residents of Alaska, the citizens of Alaska. Michigan should be getting a royalty from the resources if a company like that is going to take those resources out.
Absolutely, 100% correct. But more important is those turkeys turn around and sell Ice Mountain back to us.
Right. So it's a double slap in the face, as well as they're selling it to China and who knows, Qatar or wherever else they have their connections with,
It belongs to the public, not to the public functionaries.
Right.
And unfortunately, we allow it to happen. Why? We're going to go back to the delegates who put these turds in office. And that's the problem. We have to get better. We have to go back to the delegates and get better delegates that do their job, so they know who these public functionaries are that we put in office. Because the public doesn't have time to do that, nor does the public have the ability to do that. That's not their job. We hire people to do that for us. Just like in the AxMiTax system, we hire people to do that for us. We don't go out in the public to make those elections. We throw out our senators and representatives for raising our taxes instead of protecting us. But we've got it backwards, and we're never going to fix this if we continue to go into the democracy instead of staying with the republic. Now, let's take a look at number 2.
Yeah, I like it broken out this way. This is great. You do a really good study this way.
No person shall be denied the equal protection of the laws. Well, getting back to practicing law. Are you practicing law in order to be protected by these equal protections of the law?
No.
Nor shall any person be denied the enjoyment of his civil or political right to be discriminated against in the exercise thereof because of religion, race, color, or national origin. The legislature shall implement the sections by appropriate legislation. There it goes. There are the lawmakers who are supposed to be making the laws and preventing these people from being denied equal protection of the law. That's the lawmakers. That's the legislature. Most of them are corrupt. We call them rhinos, I guess.
I call them parasites.
Parasites is a good word.
Mm-hmm.
Rats are another good word. There's a bunch of good words you could call them. But that's who's supposed to be doing this. We're not supposed to vote on laws. We're not supposed to vote on going back to the last election on the amendment for what was it, abortion. We're not supposed to be voting on that. That's the legislature's job, is to implement the proper laws. And then if there's a person that's going to be denied equal protection of the law, that's the legislature's responsibility, not ours as a public functioner, as people.
There's so much money in this, in the political industry. It's incredible, and we're going to have to get the money out of all of this, so the parasites have to go somewhere else. And unfortunately, then we'll have honest people in office. Right now, it's just a big money grab.
Back to the fake money.
Yep.
We're going to get rid of it when we get rid of the fake money and the fake Federal Reserve and the fake banking system. When we get rid of the banking system that can print money out of nothing, out of air, give you mortgage money out of air, give you any kind of loans out of air, making it up, just printing it on a piece of paper, on digits. Until we get rid of that fake money system, we're not going to get rid of the fake government.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the next one.
Yep. Let's go back to 3. Or go back to, let's go to 3. The people have the right peacefully to assemble, to consult for the common good, to instruct their represent. There's that word again.
Ooh, that's our word.
And to petition the government for redress of grievance. There's another one. How many people have tried FOIA requests and they say, oh, we don't have to give you a FOIA request, or the FOIA request is going to cost you money, or any of that. No. Third Amendment, or third article, it's not an article, section of Article 1, Section 3, says that we have a right to redress a grievance. We can write a letter to our public functionaries, and they must answer it, even though they don't, and they hide behind their office title. But we have a right. This is in the Constitution. So what are we saying? We're then saying that these public functionaries who are not doing or are not redressing a grievance with us, they're violating the Constitution. And we'll get to Article 9 eventually, which is their oath of office. And if they violate their oath of office, they're either kicked out or they're strung up, one or the other. Stringing up, I like better. Giving them a necktie party. If you're going to be in violation of your oath of office, you need to be out of office. So here we have, who is supposed to fix for the common good? That's our representatives. Those people are supposed to know what the pulse of the public is. And they're supposed to fix any problems that arise from what goes on in life, the laws, the rules, the regulations. That's the representatives. That's not the public. The representatives, because we can hold them accountable individually. But when we get into a democracy and everybody in office only goes to the public and the public votes 51% to 49% as a democracy, then we lose this freedom and we lose this protection, because it's the representatives that are supposed to be doing that for us. And the right to redress a grievance. I have never had a redress a grievance not answered for me at this point in time. The answers sometimes are kind of semi-answers, not real good answers, but I've always had them write back and answer something, saying something to me. But then that requires you to ask that question again, maybe in a different format, maybe ask it in a different way, 2 or 3 times. And then once you do that, now they're in violation of their oath of office. Now you go after them and you hang them.
Short drop, sudden stop. The other operable word here that I see is peaceably to assemble, the right to peaceably assemble.
Yes.
Problem that I see with most of the assembling that's going on, it's not peaceable, and they're not looking for answers. People are looking to reinforce their biases, be right, or to have some personal gain out of it. There's been a few things that I have been assembling, but if we assemble for the reason of redress of grievance instead of this high school mentality party going on, I think we'd have a whole lot better outcome. You know, instead of just causing a disturbance like a child to create a temper tantrum. No, that's not how you do it. You go in there and as an adult, take the time to read and construct actual legal documents, find the legal arguments, and then hold them accountable. Give them notice. I mean, look at all the people that are doing notices right now. I think that's a great way to let them know that they're out of compliance and give them the opportunity to fix it.
Let me ask you a question here. This is going to be a question that I'm going to carry on throughout the program.
Okay. Here's John's test, so he can say, you're wrong. So go ahead.
Can a right be regulated?
No.
Absolutely. You got the answer 100% correct. A right cannot be regulated. How can you peacefully assemble if you can't take your vehicle and travel to that assembly?
Correct, because they've got licenses on them, and they've confused. The biggest thing is confusing commerce. And then they've put us all into commerce rather than putting us nowhere. I mean, they have the right to put us anywhere, and they've been able to stuff us into commerce.
That's correct. They can only control commerce. They cannot control a right. So if you have the right to assemble, you have the right to get to that assembly somehow. And you generally get to that assembly by the mode of transportation that's available at the time. In the 1800s, it was horses. And toward the early 1900s, it became automobiles and horses. And now you can't take I don't have a horse over here that I can pull out of my garage and run to the nearest assembly. I can't do that because I don't have a horse. I only have a car or a vehicle in which I can go to that assembly with. But in the process of going to that assembly, I can't be regulated to get there by giving me a speeding ticket or by giving me a ticket of whatever sort. But I understand that, and I don't race up and down the street at 90 miles an hour and do stupid things. So I know how to live in the republic, and that's the problem that a lot of people don't know how to be and how to live in the republic. I have morons in my neighborhood racing their motorcycle in the middle of the night with no muffler on, waking everybody in the neighborhood up. Now, that's not being in the republic.
So disrespectful.
It is
And so
disrespectful.
obnoxious. What a obnoxious. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that it's a good idea to do things. And the Bible puts it very well. You put others in front of yourself. So if our behavior is being disruptive, disrespectful, you're in the wrong immediately. And quite honestly, it's something that will be judged by God. You don't get out of the judgment. So I mean, I think all of us need to be introspective on our own behavior and be worthy of the great sacrifice that God has made for us.
And well, it's the great sacrifice that we as the public, in order to live in freedom and not be encumbered by government, have to be able to self-regulate and self-govern ourselves. So we are not doing things to disrupt and be obnoxious to other people. So yes, this is all part of it.
Charlotte just came back on and said my computer keeps shutting down. So I'm assuming it's because of content. That happens a lot.
Yeah. I've had emails that never got to people that I've sent out. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's we are being censored. There's no doubt about it. All right, I guess we can go on to 4. I think we beat up 3 quite a bit.
Yeah, I was looking something else up here, but it will keep going. I love doing like investigation on the fly.
Every person shall be at liberty to worship God according to the dictates of his own conscience. That means if you are a person that has to go or wants to go to church on Sunday and we have a pandemic, that you have the liberty to go to church because you, according to your own dictates and own conscience, you have the right to do that, and government can't interfere. No person shall be compelled to attend or against his consent or against my consent to wear a mask in public, contribute to the erection, is it?
Yes. Erection or support of any place of religious worship.
Support of any place of religious worship. Yeah, and some of the words are not quite clear to me. I should be reading out of my book.
Well, it's a correct word. It's just that we've kind of like taken a lot of the the words and we've put different meanings on it. So it's a correct word.
Or to pay their
rights.
Tidings,
taxes, or other rates
for support of their minister of their gospel or teacher of religion. No money shall be appropriated or drawn from the treasury for the benefit of any religion, sect, or society. Let's back up.
Well, that goes to almost all the NGOs that have been trafficking human beings right there.
Yeah, let's go back to one other point. No money shall be appropriated. By whom? Appropriated meaning 401c3, that if you don't belong to the 401c3, that the government can tax you, can tax the church. Are you kidding me? That is total violation of this Constitution right here, of the state Constitution, let alone the federal Constitution, which says no law shall be written to impede the religious or practice of the public. And I'm not using the correct words, but that's basically what it says. Let's see, where did I leave off? Benefit of the religion, technology, or religious
or drawn. Hey, let me give it a try. I've got a bigger copy. Or drawn from the treasury for the benefit of any religious sect or society, theological or religious seminary. Nor shall property belonging to the state be appropriated for any such purpose. The civil and political rights, privileges, and capacities of no person shall be diminished or enlarged on account of his religious belief.
There you go. Again, this is kind of taking the federal Constitution and making it more specific. And that's what this kind of does, except the problem with both the federal and state Constitution regarding religion and religious worship is that they've been violating this left and right, both the federal government and the state government. Federal government by President Johnson in his 401c3 program to bring all the religious practices, sects under the guise of the federal government, that you can only say this and you can only say that, and turned basically most of the preachers or I don't know, what do you want to call them, fathers or whatever, those that are on the pulpit, taking their fight away from them. Remember back in the Revolutionary War, where was the battle? Where did the battle start?
Black robe regiments, I believe. It's like the pastors would be in church with their robes on and their fighting clothes underneath the robe. They stood for things. And I think that's, if nobody can call out bad behavior, and the problem is that it's been so twisted, it's like everything gets twisted here on this earth eventually, because evil is here. Until Jesus Christ sets his foot back on this earth, we're going to have to deal with it, and we're going to have to deal with it and be smarter about this. If you can't call out bad behavior, we've been propagandized to say, oh, you're just being mean. Well, sometimes people are just being mean because they're psychopaths and they want to run people around. That doesn't mean we have to consent to anything that they say or even give it any weight of agreeing with their opinions. It's their opinion. That's it. But we're going to have to realize that sometimes when a person really, really loves you, they will call you out because they see you destroying yourself by bad behavior. For example, if someone's got a drug problem, that usually ends poorly. And they need help. They don't need condemnation. They need help. The same thing with any of the other addictions or things that appear in the absence of God, that if you don't call it out, it's going to end in destruction of the person, the family, the culture, the country. The rules are there because that's how we live in peace with each other.
If we have a chance next week, I'd like to jump off the rails just a little bit.
You can always jump off the rails. I love jumping off the rails. I think it's great.
Because we don't have time today. This is a longer process. But because you got Mike coming on. But next week we'll talk a little bit about the whole philosophy of religion and God, I think. And not in a sense that I'm a preacher of any standing, but that my view of what I've seen over my lifetime is very interesting, and I'd just like to bring it out to the public. So we'll do that next week.
Yeah, well, and I think all of these discussions, I mean, this is the way it used to be. People hung out in say like taverns and their churches. They worked together in the fields. They weren't sitting on their phones with strangers. Stranger danger, guys. When you're on the phone or social media, it is strangers. These are not people you know. You may think you do. When I go to political events, stranger danger, full time. Okay, I don't know these people. Just because we're familiar with their faces and such doesn't mean they are who they say they are. And so I love going into off the rail conversations. And I'm giving Charlotte my number here a minute so she can there. Please send it to my phone, Charlotte. I can't retrieve it from the chat. So I can look it up, but I can't retrieve it. So with that said, I'm going to bring Mike on a minute. We'll have a quick talk. Morning, Mike. How you doing?
Morning, everybody. How you doing?
How you doing, Mike?
Good.
Awesome. Always glad to talk with you. You've always got some great information, and this should be fun. And just so everybody knows, I am a fair and honest person, and I chipped the links to the people from AxMiTax so that they can see exactly what we're talking about here, because we have a problem, and the problem is deception from the grassroots, from political operatives, from people that maybe don't even know they're sitting with people who are putting an agenda. I'm not going to accuse anyone personally of being nefariously behind it, even if they are. I'm not going to say that, because there's so much complicity and so many layers to these things. We don't have informed consent. The Bureau of Election approves language. Most people don't even read the entirety of the proposals that are being proposed, so they vote by headline. And so we need to get in and know who's behind what, who the real people are behind it, and what they're actually voting for, because just as it happened in the last election that we had proposals. Oh no, everybody starts crying and sobbing. Well, don't cry and sob to me if you've been warned about what's going on and haven't had the forethought or the ability to dig into what you're actually voting for. It's all deception. And so there you go. Any last words you want to say there, John?
No, other than this Wednesday, we're going to be further talking about the Constitution. So it would be nice if are good for people to come on board and listen and learn. And don't wait for the government to tap you on the shoulder and start giving you a hard time. Learn now so you have the tools to which to fight with. Practice law.
Yeah, there you go. Know what it is.
Know what it is so you could practice it properly.
Yeah. So here we go. We're going to go to the next segment here. I'm going to take a 1-minute break and I'll be right back. But we're going to be looking at things such as the deception that's always in front of us and having to, in fact, dig a little deeper to get to the truth. And I just can't wait. All the yelling, oh no, Donna Brandenburg, don't vote for her for governor. Well, you know what? I don't want idiots voting for me anyway. So it's like, if you can't vote for me because for any reason, I don't really care. We're going to still stay out here and beat up the truth. And, because we stand on integrity, and the truth has always got to come out no matter who you stand with. So with that said, I'll be right back in 1 minute. Good morning. Welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it is the 15th day of July, 2025. And welcome to our show. I'm going to get right to it with my buddy, Mike Bambas. How you doing?
Not bad. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Wow, what a crazy time we live in. I was talking about the Lisa McLean crap with leaking congressional documents to the Qataris who are funding Hamas. And in the hour before, which I think is fairly significant, Laura Loomer put it out there, and she put out a video of Lisa dancing with some Qataris on July 4th and such, which to me, that's just clickbait. If anybody's ever been to a DC party, it's all loud music. You can't really talk to anybody because that's how operatives go and pass information. That's exactly what this is about. We're in a spy versus spy game right now. I don't engage in it. You know, I get some contacts and I meet people and such because I literally talk to everyone. Seriously. Doesn't mean I'm friends with any of them, but I do talk to everyone and try to sift through things a little bit and get things figured out. So let's go right into the meat of this today and getting things figured out, because you and I are on kind of an agreement with the fact that AxMiTax is not what it is being proposed as. There's too many red flags there for me to take any of this seriously, and it looks like a huge deception. Now, with that said, they like to say, Donna, Brandenburg isn't for getting rid of property taxes. No. That's not at all. I'm absolutely about getting rid of property taxes. But what this proposal does is it shifts it. It doesn't get rid of it. They're going to shift it. There's no checks and balances for getting this off the people. And what it does is it absolves the corporations from paying their tax liability. And it's going to be almost impossible to audit this. And so that's part of it. But the other thing is, where is this being funded with? Where is it being funded for? When I look at all of these grassroots groups, I constantly ask myself the question, where did this come from? Where did Stand Up Michigan come from? Why is it that these people have the ability to do all of these things? Why are they all connected? It's the same thing I was talking about with Lisa McLean. They're all connected. And when you pull the one pin, the whole thing falls. So let's talk about this and the connections from AxMiTax that you have and what happened at the meeting you went to.
Okay, I was at a, now, first off, I like to say that, you said that you like going off the rails, because I'm accused of that all the time. So get ready. We're going to go off some rails.
I'm loving this. This is my favorite kind of conversations. No script. We have barely talked about any of this other than this is what we're going to go down, because I'm sick of seeing these proposals lead the entire state down the fast road to hell, which is what all of them are about. They're all funded by somebody. And so the question is who's behind it? What's the law groups that are behind it? Who is behind this? That none of it is grassroots. There's always a funding source. There's always something behind these. Well,
first off, to know the thoughts of Julius Caesar once said, to know the thoughts of your enemies, listen to the voices of the wives and the maidens. Okay. Now I've been accused when I say that, oh, you're that's a sexist remark. No. You're not understanding what that actually means. Okay. You go out there, you network, you talk to people, and gossip usually has a foundation by which it has a reliable source of some sort, whether good or bad. So when you go out there and you network and you listen to people out there and you listen to the gossip, you listen to the tone and the voice of the streets, is what I call it. You pick up a lot of information, things that you don't normally hear and you won't hear in your drive-by media. So with that said, I went to an AxMiTax. I think it was about the fourth time I've gone to one of their events. Okay. Carl Wagner's there and along with some others. And she made the statement that she is the founder of this and that she is the author of it. And timing is everything here. That probably the FBI calling me. So anyway, she made some profound statements, some true, some not so true. She mentioned the usual scripted narrative, and she opened it up to questions at the end. And I went through and I read the petition, and there is a major red flag in that petition that nobody is talking about. And when I point blanked her on it, she did everything but talk about it. She talked and danced all around it. What I'm referring to is in the petition, it states that one of the things that are going to be abolished is Article 1, Section 10 of the Michigan Constitution. Now, what is Article 1, Section 10? States that no bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contract shall be enacted. Now, why would you be abolishing this? This is a carryover from the 1908 Constitution. Why are they looking to get rid of it? Well, let's break it down. What is a no bill of attainder?
Here, I'm going to pull this up and so people can see this. This is why you have to cross-reference and such. That 1963 Constitution, by the way, is unconstitutional because it was not voted properly in. It was only voted in by 1/10%. So this is actually an unlawful document.
True, but if you look down at the bottom there, it says it's from the 1908 Constitution, Article 2, Section 9.
Correct.
So the 1908 Constitution is enforceable right now because the 63 was not properly ratified. So this is something that we should have in place. Now, a bill of attainder is a legislative act that singles out an individual or group for punishment without trial. Oh, gee, let's think about that for a moment. I mean, you can create a law that singles out an individual or a group specifically. Does the word or term sovereign citizen come to mind? So the U.S. Constitution prohibits such bills, ensuring that the government cannot declare individuals guilty of a crime without a fair trial, which is, again, Article 1, Section 9. And no bill of attainder or ex post facto law will be passed. Essentially, bills of attainder are considered unfair because they bypass the judicial system. So now we look at no ex post facto law, which is a retroactively changes the legal consequences or status of actions that were committed or relationships that existed before the enactment of the law. In criminal law, it may criminalize actions that were legal when committed. It may aggravate a crime by bringing it to a more severe category than it was when it was first committed. It may change the punishment prescribed for a crime by adding new penalties or extending sentences. So this gives them carte blanche to change the law from day to day and inflict more penalties, more fines, more something to meet their narrative. And then the last part, no law impairing the obligation of a contract. The Constitution seeks to protect private rights from state interference by limiting the state's power to enact legislation that alters existing contracts rights. The Constitution's contract clause provides no state shall pass any law impairing the obligation of a contract. The Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, has interpreted the clause to limit a state's power to enact legislation that, one, breaches or modifies its own contracts, or two, regulates contracts between private parties. Now, I speak to this because I have personal experience in this. In a case I had, it was probably about 10 years ago. It was before Judge Hattie of the 44th Circuit Court, Livingston County. Case was FIP Construction versus City Mortgage. It was a property dispute. And I was the spokesperson on behalf of the company, of the corporation. The attorneys for City Mortgage raised the argument that being that I am not a licensed attorney, I could not represent the corporation. And Judge Hattie said, oh yeah, I've got 20 years experience on the bench. No corporation can be represented unless it has an attorney. So we went back and forth and rounders on this. And I explained that the board of directors unanimously chose I to be the spokesperson on behalf of the entity or group as a whole, which is constitutional. It is lawful. And we got into an argument. I mean, we argued for like 10 minutes in the courtroom, yelling at each other. And he finally just pissed me off. And I said, look, you're nothing more than an Article 3 judge of an Article 3 court. You do not have the constitutional authority to interfere in a contractual agreement as an outside third party to that contract, nor do you have the constitutional authority to change the terms and conditions of a contractual agreement as an outside third party to that contract. He just looked at me like completely dumbfounded, didn't know what to say to that. And he just finally sat back in his chair and said, continue, and allowed me to represent the corporation as a non-licensed attorney. If this goes away, if Article 1, Section 10 goes away, I would not have been able to do that. This is them interfering in our contracts, in our personal lives. The next thing that comes to mind when I saw this was currently the Michigan legislators are changing the Michigan Trust Code. What happens if this goes away? That means your trust, your will, no longer has any authority because the judge can walk in and say, well, we changed the law to say that I have the power to remove your trustees, appoint guardians in their place. I have access to your funds. I have access and control over your beneficiaries. They can pass whatever law they want then for full control and power over you, your estates, your trustees, your beneficiaries, the whole 9 yards.
And they're all doing it. It's not just the Democrat Party. This is what the village idiots are looking at. It's like it's all the Democrats. No, it's not.
No,
it's every single one of them.
It's all of them. It's all of them. I don't care what title they want to go and follow under. It's all of them. They must be nuts. Somebody's insane for doing this. But oh wait, Carl Wagner revealed something in her little presentation. She revealed that she claimed to be the author of this whole legislation. All right. Okay. Well, she goes on later to say that she has tax attorneys writing the legislation. Well, wait a minute. Which is it? Are you doing it, or are you allowing these tax attorneys to do it? So I started digging. And what I found was a law firm by the name of Dyka Law Firm out of California. Why is a law firm from California writing legislation to change the Michigan Constitution? Are they trying to make Michigan into California?
Oh, how do you spell Dyka? How do you spell Dyka?
Oh, I think it's DYKA or something like that. It's actually in, if you go to their website, that name, that law firm pops up in the AxMiTax website.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting.
That's how I found the name. So
let's see. We've got, they're trust attorneys. Check this out. We've got trust, estate, and tax specialists. I'm going to go ahead and click on this because I think this is where this is going. I love doing this, Mike. This is fantastic. It's like research on the fly. So I'm assuming this is it. Is this correct? DEKA, is that it?
I think it was DY.
DY, that's Pasadena, California. Let me go back, and I don't want to impugn anybody's character that doesn't deserve it. So let me see. Is it in the AxMiTax website?
I believe it was. Yes, I think that's where I found it.
Let me see where. Let's see.
I was digging through all their little links and stuff, and.
All right. Well, I'm going to see if we can find this. Let's see if we can find something in here, because we really need to look into it and find out.
I point blanked Carl Wagner on the Article 1, Section 10. She, again, danced all around it. So then I brought it up. I said, look, we've already got things in place that negates property taxes. And I said, one of them, and I'd like to read just a section of this. This is from a U.S. Supreme Court ruling.
I'm not going to be able to find this quickly, so we're going to have to dig on that, and I will post the correct links on my X and Telegram account. So go ahead.
Okay, so this is from the U.S. Supreme Court, and this is just going to be a segment. There's a reason why I'm bringing this up, because I actually brought this up before the Michigan Supreme Court. They would not hear the case. They would not allow me to bring my case before the Michigan.
Yeah, because they're all complicit criminals. So there you go.
So, but in this, it states that. Because then, and I'll give references to why I'm talking about this in relation to what Carl Wagner put in her presentation. Okay, so in Gonzalez v. Reich, the Supreme Court ruled that the Fed had Commerce Clause authority due to the aggregate effects of non-commerce activity, i.e., growing marijuana at home for personal medical use, upon potential interstate commerce. Meaning, if individuals are allowed to grow marijuana at home for personal medical purposes, this opens a Pandora's box for increased illegal interstate sale of marijuana. Nevertheless, the High Court has never held that the Commerce Clause, even when aided by the Necessary and Proper Clause, can be used to require citizens to buy goods or services. And to depart from this 200-year history, permitting national government to require citizens to buy goods and services will deprive the Commerce Clause of any effective limits, contrary to limits set in Lopez and Morrison. Authorizing the Fed to force citizens to buy health insurance under the penalty of law would create police powers indistinguishable from those reserved by the states by the Bill of Rights and thwart the constitutional scheme of a few and enumerated powers assigned to the federal government. Concurring with the majority opinion in Gonzalez v. Reich, Justice Scalia ruled that regulation of non-economic under the Commerce Clause is possible only through the Necessary and Proper Clause, but this clause establishes that the means by which laws are instituted must be appropriate, plainly adopted to that end, and are consistent with the letter and spirit of the Constitution. Plainly stated, Congress cannot use unconstitutional means to execute the laws they pass. In 1798, Justice Chase wrote these words in one of the first Supreme Court decisions, quote, "An act of legislator, for I cannot call it law, contrary to the great first principles of the Constitution, cannot be considered a rightful exercise of legislative authority. A few instances will suffice to explain what I mean. A law that takes property from A and gives it to B, it is against all reason and justice for a people to entrust a legislator with such powers. This analysis applies equally to citizen subsidy that occurs through the Obamacare mandate."
Oh, there you go.
The United States District Court Judge Henry E. Hudson on December 13, 2010, quote, "The unchecked expansion of congressional power to the limits suggested in Obamacare would invite unbridled exercise of federal police power. At its core, this dispute is not only simply about regulating the business of insurance or crafting a scheme of universal health insurance coverage. It's about an individual's right to choose to participate. That's key. Every application of the Commerce Clause power found to be unconstitutionally sound by the Supreme Court involves some form of action, transaction, or deed placed in motion by an individual or legal entity. The constitutional viability of Obamacare in this case turns on whether or not a person's decision to refuse to purchase health care insurance is such an activity. Hudson's ruling rejects the government's view that a decision not to buy health insurance is economic activity subject to regulation under the Commerce Clause. The federal judge explained that no high court has extended Commerce Clause powers to compel individual or individuality or involuntary. I'm sorry, let me reread that. To compel individual to involuntarily enter the stream of commerce by purchasing a commodity in the private market, and thus concluded that Obamacare mandate exceeds the Commerce Clause powers vested in Congress under Article 1. The government tried to justify Obamacare through Constitution's Necessary and Proper Clause, which grants broad congressional powers that are not enumerated powers. In an 1819 Supreme Court decision, Justice John Marshall wrote that congressional authority via the Necessary and Proper Clause, while broad, its authority is not unbridled. Thus, Congress has only power to enact laws that are within the scope of the Constitution, and all means which are appropriate, which are plainly adopted to that end, which are not prohibited, but consistent with the letter and spirit of the Constitution, are constitutional. Judge Hudson ruled that Obamacare mandate is neither within the letter nor the spirit of the Constitution. If a person's decision not to purchase health insurance at a particular point in time does not constitute the type of economic activity subject to regulation under the Commerce Clause, then logically an attempt to enforce such a provision under the Necessary and Proper Clause is equally offensive to that Constitution. Now, let me translate. What that is saying is that if a government provides a product or a service, we have the right, we have the authority not to contract with them. We don't have to buy any product or service that they put out there just because they put it out there. Just because you were born does not mean that you are automatically in commerce with the government. With that said, Carl Wagner raised the issue in her presentation that what are property taxes? They're the products and services that municipality puts out there, whether it be schools, whether it be the police, the fire, the library, a skateboard park, whatever it may be. Those are products or services put out there by that municipality. Now, I raised the question, where's the contract or where's the agreement? What's a contract? A contract is a written agreement or oral implied that both parties agree to. An agreement is where only one person signs. Now, example of an agreement would be your mortgage or a car loan. Those are agreements. A contract would require signatures from both sides. Where are either one of them? Absent a contract, where's the obligation to pay the taxes? They're trying to claim that, oh, it's already presumed. It's an assumption that when you buy a property, you have to pay property taxes and you have to pay for the product and service. Well, wait a minute. under that Supreme Court ruling, I should be able to choose whether or not I want to pay for that library, if I want to choose to pay for the fake police or anything else that they bring forward. Now, mind you, we've already shown and proven that these municipalities with their township and city police departments are de facto. So why would I pay for them? I'll support the sheriff's department. They're de jure. But why should I pay for new squad cars every year? Why should I pay for all their new fire departments or upgrades in their police department when they're fake to begin with? The fire department, we've got fire departments rebuilding buildings that don't need to be rebuilt. There's nothing wrong with them. They're not dilapidated. They're perfectly fine. But they're rebuilding them, tearing down the old ones. They're only 10 years old. Why? Because they got to keep pushing the money through. They got to keep expanding their government, their situation. So no. I'm sorry, Carl Legner's right. We have a lot of things that we're paying for that we shouldn't be paying for, number one. She's right. But let's put it into the proper contents. Where's the contract that says I'm obligated to pay for anything to begin with?
And what's to stop them? Because when I listened to her talk too, she said it's going to shift those taxes to the local municipalities. That's what she said, that it will shift them onto the people. The other problem I have with that,
she put out this little form here that shows where all the taxes come from and where they get pushed over through. And it's like, okay, you know what? That's
the core of the issue is not even being addressed. It's just another distraction. And then the other problem that I have is when you shift those taxes onto like a local type of a tax, it looks to me like it's absolving all the corporations, say like BlackRock that's been picking up, I don't know, like 600,000 single family units. I believe that they're going to be able to get right out from underneath those taxes, and it's going to go to the voting population of, and I mean, that's all of it.
No business pays a tax. No business pays taxes. Anything incurred by the business is always deflected to the consumer. So,
absolutely. A business is a pass-through. So it's kind of like a double tax. But at any rate, if you look at a $50 billion tax liability that an entity can get out from under because there's nothing there to stop it. And that's the problem that I have. I mean, are we going to call it out for a homestead tax? How are we going to handle this? There's so many loopholes in it. It's crazy. I want to, when you get done, I want to show you when you talk about having government destroy the rights of individuals, it's already happening. It is already happening that people are being incarcerated. And there's a political prisoner who has been incarcerated. He's having to do with our elections. His name is John Flynn. And looking at what happened to him, they're actually starting to try to force him, he was a rep, to taking meds because they've declared him because he spoke out about the elections, which leads back to Michigan politics, actually, which is really interesting. It's already happening. So when you talk about going to, destroying the constitutional basis for how this country, this is the big issue right here.
Yeah, it is. And to further this, when she had no response to what I brought up on that, I brought up the fact that under the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, specifically states there's no property taxes. And let me read this for everybody so they get an understanding of this. And this is under Article 4 of the Northwest Ordinance, 1787. It states in here that the inhabitants and settlers of the said territory shall be subject to pay a part of the federal debts contracted or to be contracted, and a proportional part of the expenses of government to be appointed on them by Congress according to the same common rule and measure by which appropriate appointments thereof shall be made on the other states. And the taxes for paying their portion shall be laid and levied by the authority and direction of the legislator of the district or districts or new states as in the original states, within the same time agreed upon by the United States Congress assembled. The legislatures of those districts or new states shall never interfere with the primary disposal of the soil by the United States in Congress assembled. nor with any regulations Congress may find necessary for securing the title in such soil to the bona fide purchaser. No tax shall be imposed on lands the property of the United States, and in no case shall non-resident property owners be taxed higher than residents. The navigable waters leading into the Mississippi and St. Lawrence and the carrying places between the same shall be the common highways forever free, as well as the inhabitants of said territory, as to the citizens of the United States and those of any other states that may be admitted into the Confederacy, without any tax imposed or duty therefore. So, translation. When the United States created the Northwest Territory and they were selling off the land to John Doe, now there was two ways it was done. It was done by either directly from the United States government to John Doe, or it was sold to what would be the state of Michigan, and the state of Michigan then sold the land to John Doe. In those land patents, it states that the conveyance was done with all rights, privileges, and immunities. And those conveyances were to the heirs and assignees forever. So when they conveyed that property, and they state in there, some of them, the language it has in there, fee simple. I'll come back to that in a minute. That means that they conveyed their privilege of not having to pay property taxes to John Doe, the buyer or bona fide purchaser of the land. So those conveyances all went with that. There's nothing stipulating to the contrary. Now, the term fee simple. Now, under today's definition by the bar thugs, is fee simple means that you are agreeing to pay property taxes and you're agreeing that your property is subject to eminent domain. Here's the problem. Black Law's Dictionary, first edition, states that fee simple means that the property has full clear is allodial has allodial status.
Allodial titles is what we're talking about here, yes. Everyone, and that's I had Doug Force on here, who I believe died of questionable circumstances in Canada because he was showing that going back to the allodial titles and how Canada was not properly federated, and that the United States really wasn't either, and it fell apart at the Articles of Confederation.
So by the term fee simple being allodial status means there is no tax, there are no encumbrances of any kind. It's you have absolute ownership, but no cloud to the title. So that definition got changed later on. As to when exactly that was changed, I don't know, but I've been trying to find out when exactly they did make that change, but they did change it. But the original intent of Congress has to be followed. I don't care. I hear the argument from some of these attorneys. Well, by today's standards, things change. Everything evolves. Wait a minute. Whatever the original intent was, that's what has to be followed. If I put into my will or put into my trust that I want this property to go to so-and-so, you can't come back and say, well, we're going to give it to so-and-so over here instead. Well, that wasn't my intent. My intent was to go to this person, not to that person.
And then we're going to hit them with a whole bunch of estate taxes too, because the parasites in office, they couldn't make a dime if they tried to. All they do is they take what other people work to create.
Right. So everybody's got to understand that they play and institute a word salad. Okay. And here's a good example. How many people out there think they make an income? Most. They're believing that, I go out there, I got a job, I make an income. Wrong.
No, you don't.
You don't make an income. You are being reimbursed for your time.
And your time
being reimbursed for your time.
And your time is your property.
Yes. So
they don't have the right to tax it at all.
You can't tax a reimbursement. It's not taxable. You play in their word salad. Yeah, you're going to get taxed to death. But if you learn how to get out of their word game, out of that word salad, and understand how words have meanings and they have power, then you don't make an income, you get reimbursed for your time. Is your time worth something? Yeah, I get paid so much an hour. Okay, then you're being reimbursed for your time. That's not an income.
Yep.
Come on, people, you gotta get smarter than this.
Yeah, income tax is an assault on our property rights, and understanding what our property really is fundamental to all of this. So I'm going to bring this up. So AxMiTax is, we are saying, is to get rid of this part of our Constitution.
Yes.
And it gives them the ability, unchecked abilities, to go after people and create protected classes of citizens, as well as gives them the right to prosecute people just because they say, or incarcerate. Correct?
Yep. Okay. And after the meeting, after the presentation was all done, several of us were standing out in the driveway area, and I don't know what his name was but he was obviously associated with the AxMiTax, and he come up to me. I mean, he was just irate.
Oh, they get hot.
He got right in my face about it. And he goes, "I want you to show me what you're talking about." And so I he handed me the petition, and I knew right where to look, and I pulled it right up, and I pointed to it. I said, "It's right here. Read this section right here." And he read it like 2 or 3 times, and he was started to argue with me. He goes, "You're just here to sabotage us." I said, "What does that say?" He didn't understand the language in the petition. Didn't understand it. And it wasn't just me, but the others that I was standing with started in on him as well, saying, "What are you doing? You don't even understand your own language." I said, "Look, I'm here because of this language. You don't even understand it. You don't even understand what you're pushing here." I said, "How do you promote something you don't even understand?"
Language approved by the board, or the Bureau of Elections, the Board of Canvassers, which Jonathan Brader is involved in this whole damn thing, who sat up there and perjured himself at the cross-examination of Stephanie Scott, and admitted to destroying election data that he had no jurisdiction over. This is all one great big happy lie to deceive us. I mean, this is what it is.
And here's another take. Yeah. When someone challenges your writings, okay, and Carl Wagner said, I'm the author. I'm the founder of this. I'm the author of this. Okay, great. When I point blank someone on a question regarding the contents of what you're claiming to be the author of, and instead of answering the question or saying, "Well, can we have a further discussion on this?" or "Let's talk about this," instead you get irate and get in my face, and then during that argument admit you don't understand the language that's in the petition. There's a problem here. Somebody's BSing somebody here, because if you're the author, shouldn't you know the contents? Shouldn't you understand what it means?
And then they go right to
defensive.
They go right to slander and libel. Well, they'll go like, "Oh, I know that these people are not pro-life. I know that they're this, that, and the other thing." It's like, it's an all lie. They just throw out things to deflect and gaslight. You can't have a real discussion with these people. Right.
So I want to turn the conversation here a little bit. Let's go off the rails a little bit.
I love it.
I received on June 30th a letter from the FBI. I sent you an email on all this.
Would you like me to pull those up? Because I can.
Sure.
I love this. I just love this. It's fantastic. Hang on a minute. I love researching. Number one, I could do this full time. But number two, I love going off the rails. It's fantastic. Hang on, let me find. You could talk amongst yourself here. I'm going to go ahead and.
So what the FBI did is initially the FBI I did a FOIA to the FBI requesting whether or not they were still enforcing their 2011 bulletin regarding sovereign citizens being extremists and terrorists. Their first response was nothing. They refused to respond. So I sent Kash Patel a letter.
What's the date on that? The 4th, 28/4.
That was the initial FOIA and response was back in April. June 9th was when I sent Kash Patel a letter. And the response I received on June 30th was stating that, well, my FOIA doesn't meet their requirements. It wasn't a FOIA. And it wasn't sent to their FOIA administrator. It was sent directly to Kash Patel. But they're trying to say, well, it was a FOIA. No, it's not a FOIA. So I'm putting together another package for them and Trump and Bondi to say, look, we got a serious problem here. This is escalating quite quickly now. So the letter to Kash Patel points all this out, that the FBI is not cooperating in giving the answers to the questions on the FOIA. Now, what do they got to hide? Why aren't they answering? So the question now becomes, if they're refusing to answer, and I called the FBI and they hung up on me several times, and to the point where I just kind of got ticked off, and I finally got a hold of one lady and she goes, what can I do for you? I said, all I need is talk to Kash Patel or Dan Bongino, your leaders of your domestic terrorist organization. And she put me on hold, and finally got a hold of another guy, and he ended up hanging up on me too. So obviously they don't want to talk about it. Obviously they're not doing anything to say, well, you know what, that was the former administration. That's not what we're doing. Nothing. I mean, absolute silence on this. Well, what does silence mean? Silence is an answer.
Guilt.
Silence is acquiesce. That they're admitting that they are still enforcing it, that they're still doing it, that they're still treating anybody who challenges the authority of any public functionary or the courts as extremists or terrorists. We've got the judges telling, oh, these are sovereign citizen tactics. I'm not going to tolerate this in my courtroom. Well, guess what? Where does that language come from? It sure didn't come from the public law. It doesn't come from the intent of Congress. That came from the FBI. FBI's de facto, Norton v. Shelby. So I'm sorry, but we are dealing with a domestic terrorist organization working through the bar associations. All bar attorneys, whether they think so or not, are part of that club.
That's the same thing with the Republican Party. That's a criminal organization because they've taken foreign money and there's foreign interference in it. So anybody that stands with these parties that have taken the dark money or foreign money is complicit in the actions of said organization.
And tax dollars are being funneled through the county commissioner's office to fund the courts. Well, the courts are associated with the bar. They're all tied together. Now, this is the first response to my FOIA, which was this one. And this doesn't, if you look at the first checked box up there, I can't see the print's real small.
FOIPA does not require federal agencies to answer inquiries, create records, conduct research, or draw conclusions concerning queried data.
I don't know. That to me sounds like not much transparency going on here.
Zero.
Absolutely no answer.
Yeah,
so that's why I wrote the letter to Kash Patel. And if you can pull that up.
Yeah, just a minute here. This is crazy. I don't even know what to say. Once again, you can't make this stuff up. Okay. There's no easy way to do some of this when I'm running everything here. All right, there we go.
Nope.
That's not it? The same one?
Nope, that's the last response that they sent in response to the letter.
Okay, let's see. I've got
basically the same answers that they're not going to answer.
I've got the same. Okay, what's the date on it?
June 9th. It should be there should be two it should be in Word. It should be the third one that I sent to you.
Yep, got it. Here we go. Here's your letter. This is fantastic. Right,
yep,
right.
There we go. So your print's real small on my screen right now, so I can't see it too well.
Now let me see if I can up it just here a little bit. There you go. Make sure everybody can see it. Okay, here we go.
So yeah, this was sent to Patel directly. And, basically I wrote in here, I am Ann Michael Edmond, private American, a Michiganian state citizen, a national, did send a FOIA request dated April 28, 2025 to your FOIA coordinator requesting specific documents related to the FBI's Law Enforcement Bulletin, Volume 80, number 9 at page 20 through 24, dated September of 2011. See attached FOIA in response. I, Michael, did receive your response dated May 15th, 2025 that states the FOIPA does not require federal agencies to answer inquiries, create records, conduct research, or draw conclusions concerning query data. I, Michael, wish to be crystal clear that sovereignty remains always with the people. See Downs v. Bidwell, 1901, speaking through Justice Matthews. When we consider the nature and theory of our institutions of government, the principles upon which they are supposed to rest, and review the history of their development, we are constrained to conclude that they do not mean to leave room for the play and action of purely personal and arbitrary power. Sovereignty itself is, of course, not subject to law, for it is the author and source of law. But in our system, while sovereign powers are delegated to the agencies of government, sovereignty itself remains with the people, by whom and for whom all government exists and acts. And the law is the definition and limitation of power. From Arbery v. Madison to the present day, no utterance of this court has intimated a doubt that in its operation on the people, by whom and for whom it was established, the national government is a government of enumerated powers, the exercise of which is restricted to the use of means appropriate and plainly adapted to
constitutional ends, and which are not prohibited, but consist with the letter and spirit of the Constitution.
I, Michael, state that because the FBI took it upon themselves to publish the 2011 bulletin that demonizes we the people, the sovereign, as extremists and terrorists, then the FBI is liable and accountable for said acts and is required to answer FOIA requests regarding this information, for we are your superiors, and demand an explanation regarding your acts and intentions in this matter. I, Michael, state that I and other fellow private citizens have suffered a great harm by the FBI bulletin, to where our core inherent rights is being destroyed by the Bar Association and its members. That includes the judges, both state and federal in Michigan, as referenced in the attached document entitled Sovereign Citizens v. Terrorism. That's the thing that I put together. I, Michael, state that the bar card attorney in that case, David Burris, did state that the FBI is instructing the courts, as well as other public functionaries, on how to interact with anyone that challenges the authority and label them as sovereign citizens, extremists, or terrorists, and do whatever is necessary to destroy their core inherent rights. I, Michael, state that certified documents have been obtained that conclusively substantiates the statement above as true and factual, and further indicates that the courts, having been instructed by the FBI, are all biased, which is grounds for disqualification of all judges at all levels of the judiciary in Michigan to be disqualified pursuant to 28 U.S. Code 455, in conjunction with the rulings of the Seventh Circuit in the case of Taylor v. O'Grady, 1989, later upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court, 1994. I, Michael, state that these acts of usurpation opens the door for a multitude of civil lawsuits against all of the judges of Michigan, the Bar Association and its members, and the FBI pursuant to Norton v. Shelby County, 1886. For there is no immunity for any public functionary who does not act as jury if such public functionaries, by the acts of commission or omission, can be held liable for money damages and removed from office because of their violation to his or her oath of office. I, Michael, demand that you Director Patel, state as to what the intentions of the FBI is going to be in this matter, because currently the FBI is in violation of public law and the intent of Congress, whereas public law, volume 51, chapter 183, page 178 of May 3rd, 1940, which states, whereas some 2 million young men and women of the United States each year reach the age of 21 years, and where it is desirable that the sovereign citizens of our nation be prepared for the responsibilities and impressed with such significance of their status in our self-governing republic. Therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that the third Sunday in May each year be and is hereby is set aside as Citizenship Day, and that the President of the United States is hereby authorized and requested to issue annually a proclamation setting aside that day as a public occasion for the recognition of all who, by becoming of age or naturalization, have attained the status of citizenship, and the day shall be designated as I Am an American Day. Sorry, the print's small. No, I, Michael, demand to know if it is the intent of the FBI to wage war upon the people, the Constitution, and this country as a whole by continuing this sovereign citizen rhetoric. I, Michael, state that if it is not the intent of the FBI to violate the intent of Congress or to wage war upon the people of the Constitution and the country as a whole, then you, Director Patel, are now required to publicly apologize to I, Michael, and the American people for the unconstitutional acts committed by the FBI, and to order the immediate cease and desist of all acts in the enforcement of the bulletin by and through the Bar Association and its members and the courts as a whole, further the enforcement by and through all forms of law enforcement. I, Michael, state that because this has been brought to your attention, you, Director Patel, is obligated to report this matter to the U.S. Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and the U.S. Supreme Court justices pursuant to 18 U.S. Code 2382, misprism of treason. I, Michael, grant to you, Director Patel, 21 days from the time this letter is received to issue the order to cease and desist as stated above, and to issue your public apology to I, Michael, and the American people. I, Michael, state that should you, Director Patel, or the FBI refuse or ignore this demand, then it will be understood to be an act of domestic violence in violation of Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, as well as an act of insurrection, treason, and domestic terrorism, and thus a threat to the American way of life, and where the U.S. Attorney Office is duly authorized to use all resources necessary to ensure that the FBI threats, duress, and coercion cease and desist pursuant to 18 U.S. Code 112, Section F. I, Michael, await your response, Director Patel, and I pray that you, the FBI, make the right choice and not one that would clearly would be clearly, and not one that would be clearly an act of usurpation pursuant to Norton v. Shelby County, 1886.
Bam.
So I gave him 21 days. The response I received was the letter from June 30th that basically was nothing. Again, basically stating that that letter, which was not a FOIA, didn't meet their FOIA requirements. I'm sorry. I how many times you gotta make this clear? Either they're living up to their initials, FBI, Federal Bureau of Idiots, or they're deliberately trying to sidestep this issue. In the meantime, everybody is still being demonized by the courts, by the Bar Association, by local law enforcement, whether it be de jure or de facto. And this has got to stop. This has to stop. So again, we had one couple, they got their land patent, they put up a no trespass sign, and now they've been flagged as sovereign citizens under this FBI report. So who's next? Anybody who raises an argument against their public functionary is going to be labeled this. Since when do we go around labeling? Isn't that discriminatory?
Pretty extra sure we're just supposed to follow the law, but that seems to be a elusive unicorn right now.
Well, which law? God's law? Administrative law? The laws of physics? Which law are they referring to?
They like to change things out under the procedures, the administrative procedures type of a organization, rather than the Constitution and founding documents, original intent.
But everybody's got to get on the bandwagon here. Everybody's got to wake up. This affects everybody. This is being enforced against everyone. Just because you sit there and go, well, I don't have any issues. Guess what? They're still enforcing this against you, whether you realize it or not. And
it's
everybody's
like
got to get
a boiling pot is what it is. We're so used to it that it is. The story of the frog in the boiling pot. They put the frog in when it's still cool out and turn the heat on until the frog is boiled alive.
Well, everybody's still caught up in the what some of us refer to as the Colosseums of Rome, the football, the baseball, that whatever Colosseum that you like to venture to be distracted. People know more about their home team statistics than they do their own rights. They got it. If you were to put in a fraction of the time learning your rights, reading the Constitution, understanding this information, and instead of worrying about the stats of your local baseball team and who's got what kind of hitting percentage or whatever, which is more important, folks? Which is more important? Time to wake up. Time. There's no excuse. I'm sorry. There's just no excuse.
Well, when you look at President Trump said, we're giving back the country to we, the people, and self-governance. Well, we got to know how to run it, and that comes with studying and understanding the law. It shocked me when I went to my local township board when they were doing definitely an attorney-directed act in the development area of developing in the area. And I brought up the Constitution and the law, and one of the guys go, well, we're just like regular citizens. We don't know what to do. The state tells us what to do. The attorney tells us what to do. Well, of course they do, because they've been forced to take attorneys funded by the insurance industry to drop the premiums. The whole thing is a money soup of distraction and self-interest.
Well, here's the other problem, okay? I did a FOIA to Genoa Township, and I asked them very simply, give me a list of everybody that's a part of the executive branch, number one. Give me a list of everybody who's on the legislative branch. Well, how come they're the same? How come the people, wait a minute, aren't we supposed to have a separation of powers? All those who will hold office in one branch cannot hold that of another? And yet your legislative and executive branch are the same individuals, the same board. Well, there's no separation of power. Why? Oh, that's right. They're a charter. Well, the argument is that, okay, we have founding documents, Declaration of Independence, Northwest Ordinance, Articles of Confederation, U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights. Those are our founding documents, those 5 documents. Nowhere, anywhere in those documents does the word democracy appear. We are not supposed to be a democracy. That word does not appear. Republic does, Article 4, Section 4. But democracy does not appear. Well, guess what? Show me anywhere in those documents the word charter. Charter does not appear anywhere in those documents. Show me the word corporation. Those do not appear anywhere in those documents. Show me where they have the power to create their own union. They can't. So what is a charter? A charter is a corporation. They have a Dun & Bradstreet. They have an EIN number. Well, as a corporation, what do? They create their charter, their articles of organization. So they're operating as a corporation, not as representative of the government. They are completely exempt then from having to follow the Constitution. They're not really representing the people. They're representing the interest of that corporation. That's why, well, we created an ordinance. We created these rules and guidelines. You must follow them. Well, were they properly legislated? No, we just created them. Well, where am I bound to follow those? Where is the contract? Well, if you don't, then we're going to take your property from you under threat, duress, and coercion of our local law enforcement agency. That's de facto, because they got the guns. The people look at this as, well, they're going to pick us off one at a time. Yeah, they have been picking everybody off one at a time because people will not educate themselves to learn how to stand together and self-govern. People got to wake up. They got to get motivated. They got to get engaged in this. And they're not. They're waiting for everyone else to do it for them. You know what? Fine. You want to sit on the sideline? Sit on the sideline. I'm not going to sit on the sideline. I'm going to keep pushing right on through this.
We have to. We don't have another choice.
No, there is no choice.
There is no choice. There is nowhere else to go. You know, you hear people say ridiculous statements like, I'm going to go to Canada, or I'm going to go to wherever, you know, pick a place. What are you going to do? When are you going to, where do you think you're going to run to? It's the fight is here. The fight is now. There's no getting out of it. It's our fault, partially, not entirely, but it is our fault partially that we got into this mess, because if we would have acted back, you know, when we had less of what they've done to overlay the republic with their legal fiction, would be kind of a little bit less encumbered. But as of right now, we don't even really have to go through things and say, is it constitutional? We need to look at and go, what do we want to keep? Because the mountain of papers for what is illegal or unlawful is like this. What we want to keep is somewhere like this. Mm-hmm. The rest of it, it's got to be gone. And all I can say is God bless Justice Cannon for bringing up Norton versus Shelby County, as well as other. I mean, it made it relevant now.
Right. Now, what everybody has to do is stop worrying so much about what's happening in Washington, what's happening. You can pay attention to it, but don't focus on it. What you should be focusing on is your own backyard. What's happening in your backyard in the municipalities that you live in, as far as what they're doing. Is what they're doing lawful? Not legal, but lawful. There's a difference between lawful and legal. So you got to take a look at that. Are they creating de facto departments or agencies? Yes, they are.
Absolutely.
The tax assessor is de facto. They can't create that office. Okay?
And they're setting property values through that office.
But because no one challenges it, you're ratifying it to be lawful in their legal sense. So people have to stop consenting to this crap. They have to start taking and getting more engaged. I go to city council meetings and all that. Why is this room not packed full? There's like one or two people at these meetings. Why are people not going and getting engaged in their own municipalities and what's going on and paying attention to what's going on? You get one or two people that show up. Why? Nobody's engaged. They're too busy worrying about having a good time out on their boat, or they're too worried about the football or the baseball. They got to get more engaged. I mean, it isn't like you have to do this every night. Your city township meetings are usually once a month. Once a month is what all you have to do. Plan on it. Get engaged.
Well, and realize that when we look at, I did a deep dig on basically Epstein, because everybody was screaming, and we've got to have that Epstein list. And I'm like, guys, there isn't an Epstein list, because I'm so sure that a criminal organization is going to keep a set of books to make it real easy to track them down. That's not how this works. The list is a list that exists in the CIA, Mossad, GCHQ. That's where the list is. It's within the intelligence organizations from that. But let's look back, because there's a pertinent reason why I jumped to this, is that when you look at Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, Robert Maxwell, he was a Mossad agent. He came from Czechoslovakia, and that wasn't even his real name. He ended up going to Britain, and all of a sudden he shows up there and spends like $1.2 billion to start buying up publishers. He's a straight out, he's a Marxist. They're buying up publishers in Britain. And it started out with Macmillan and then it went to Pergamon Press, and they were the major publishers of our textbooks and has been, in Harcourt, Brace, Scholastic, all of it. All of our textbooks were paid off by this organization. This is a global crime syndicate. Mm-hmm. Epstein was just somebody that was setting up a honeypot. The masterminds behind this, he took over power of attorney on some of this stuff. I get it. But the masterminds behind this are far, far out of the public purview. They are not the ones that are expendable are the ones that they put out in the public for people to see.
Right.
And what they're doing is they're controlling the corporatocracy. If you can't look at the corporatocracy and how they're manipulating the laws to affect things, to connect the dots from the schools, the school boards, administrators in the school boards that took allegedly 20 grand to keep the masks in place personally, looking at the things like the teachers unions, NEA, MEA, what they're involved in, how they're involved in legally, and then go right back to the propaganda that slid right through the fingers of Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, and Epstein's handler. And all of them were involved in the intelligence organizations. And it's so much deeper than anyone can possibly get their arms around. But we can't be stupid by not looking at what's happening at the local levels and state levels to continue to undermine this republic.
The federal level, what you just described, will not endure or be sustainable if we at the local levels, at the state level, stop what's going on. If we can kneecap them at the local level, get rid of all the wasteful spending, get rid of the de facto departments and agencies, stop all the useless spending that's happening at the local level, that eventually goes from the local to the state and eventually from the state to the Fed. It's got to start in your own backyard. Take care and wipe out the foundation that they're building this all upon. That's where it starts.
Every single municipality is dead broke. The Republican Party is like $1 million in debt right now. All of these entities are dead broke, but the municipalities are broke. The only way that they exist is because they're getting federal monies, because they've used collectivism to funnel the money. We should have no direct taxes to the federal government, zero. You want to really talk about that? It was an apportionment from the state. And that's completely gone. We're paying federal taxes. That should be abolished immediately. And so we're sending money to the federal government to come back and fund the municipalities, because municipalities are completely and utterly broke. When you look at a municipality such as Byron Township, who had a $30 million tax overage, this is a township with less than 20,000 people in it. That's it. I mean, this is not a large area. How in the hell did they have a $30 million tax overage, and then all of a sudden look at all the egregious building with the new township hall, with the new schools that are going up for the areas to support their development, because the developers are getting all of the tax shelters. And so this is what this is all about, guys. It's trust, tax structures, tax shelters, and that's how they're stealing the state. The DNR is involved in it. 4.6 million acres that the DNR owns right now, and they've got a fund, the trust fund, to continue to buy more property. It is insanity, absolute insanity.
Well, our founding documents are a trust indenture. Okay, we the people are the grantors, and we the people are the beneficiaries. The public functionaries are the trustees. They were given the power to manage the trust. They're doing a shit job on it.
They sure are. They've committed treason.
As far as municipalities being broke, I don't believe for a minute they're broke. What they're doing is they're funneling and hiding the money. When I can go to a courthouse and sit there waiting for my case, because my cases are always the last to be called because they don't want anybody hearing what I got to say. We sit there and we mentally tabulate how much money that court just raised just in the hour or 2 hours I'm sitting there waiting. When you have Brinks trucks pulling up in front of the courthouse to load all the money into those Brinks trucks in front of the courthouse, they're making the money that they're extorting out of everybody. You think, oh, the fines and fees aren't that much, $100 here, $100. No, it's the bonds. The bonds that are attached to those court cases. That case number is an account number. And when they establish those, there's a bid bond, performance bond, and a payment bond that are attached to those court cases. They're supposed to file an AO 430. They're supposed to notify the treasurer that this is a taxable event. And they're not doing it. They're not paying their taxes. They're funneling that money, and everybody gets a percentage. The court, the judge, the clerks, the prosecutor, your attorney, if you got an attorney, they're all getting a cut of those bonds.
Well, look at what they did with me with the Brader case that I filed. I filed the case on Jonathan Brader. The attorney general jumped right on it with 5 attorneys from the attorney general's office. How much are they all getting paid? And are they that stupid that they have to go through an individual citizen who filed pro se, jury pro perio, whatever words they want to call it, to act like they're some kind of all that in a bag of chips? How much money are they putting into those attorneys to defend Jonathan Brader? My question was right there. It's like, why wouldn't you start an investigation into this instead of bam, go right to his defense from the attorney general's office? I don't get it. It's like they've got their little cartel to protect each other. So Charlotte sent this to me as Van Dyke Trust Law and Estates. I don't know if that's the right one or not, but she brought that one up. So we'll get it figured out, guys. We'll figure out who exactly. And like I said, I'll post it later to my, I don't know which one it is, but that's, we're digging down and finding out, trying to figure out who it is that that is attached to AxMiTax. We don't know exactly, but we're going to look for it. And this is what we do when we research on the fly. So anyhow, Karen says the conversation assumes that Kash Patel is actually the director of an actual continuing agency called the FBI. If it doesn't actually exist, he doesn't have any reason to answer, just a thought. When I was in DC the last few times, I can tell you the FBI buildings, it's kind of like a ghost town down there. There's a lot of buildings down there that are absolutely empty. They're totally empty. And I think that this is worthy of noting because I think that there's a lot more going on than what we realize. I want to put a quick video up on Joe Flynn.
So you were all over YouTube. You were all over social media. You did your ex.
I want to play this just one.
You were all over you.
I'm going to give you some background on this. This is a guy named John Flynn of Connecticut. Political prisoner John Flynn has been incarcerated in the Whiting Forensic Hospital since March of 25 because an activist judge, Mary Elizabeth Reed, committed him with zero medical professional testimony as the state of Connecticut has been taken over by corrupt Democrats who prosecute, I'm not going to call them Democrats, I'm going to call them freaking communists, who persecute America First patriots, especially because John Flynn was suing the state of Connecticut. It's coming. I mean, that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to prosecute all of us who speak the truth. If somebody comes after those of us who don't get paid anything for this, I don't get paid any money for this. We do this because we're patriots, just for speaking the truth. And I think that this is significant to talk about. Who persecute America First patriots, especially because John Flynn was suing the state of Connecticut to expose the election corruption there. Now, here we go. Listen to this a minute. I think that I'm going to put the I'm going to put this up, and we're just going to listen to this. This
YouTube, you were all over social media. You did your X Spaces, and you were talking about how the government and/or private corporations get patents on technology that is used to control us. So, what's the most important patent we should know about? Like, what's the most important technology that you were focusing on?
Well, the most important thing turned out to be the election software that I've been talking about since 2018.
Okay.
So the Attorney General who's representing the hospital is the person who signed those contracts.
The Attorney General who represents the hospital, what did you say?
The Attorney General's office signed the ES&S contract, the LHS contract, the Knowing contract, the GEMS contract,
Okay.
the Dominion voting contract, the Diebold contract, the e-poll book contract. They're all part of the puzzle.
Okay, so the Attorney General is A.G. Tong, right? Tong.
Listen.
Okay.
In 2006, Blumenthal was AG.
Oh, okay.
Okay? From 2006 to 2016, a 10-year period, he renewed all the election software contracts, and he was Attorney General. His office endorsed, signed the deals. So he controlled the elections. He controlled CITL. The Tyler Technologies contract is epic. That's what Mike Lindell won his case on. The Tyler Technology contract that Mike Lindell talked about originated in Connecticut. What happened was, in the 2020 election, every town in Connecticut got hacked first. Then Danbury, Connecticut hacked Pennsylvania. Then Shelton, Connecticut hacked Wisconsin. Then Southington, Connecticut hacked Michigan. In other words, Connecticut hacked Arizona through Gardner Group. And it's all the same IP addresses.
So you're saying that the hacking is not coming from Serbia or the Chinese Communist Party, it's coming from Connecticut.
No, hold on. The Serbian contracts are from CAVU, C-A-V-U. The 260 Serbian programmers programmed Connecticut's memory cards.
Okay. And you're saying Richard Blumenthal knows the truth?
I'm saying he was Attorney General whose office signed all these freaking contracts.
Okay.
Because they just renewed the LHS contract.
Now, why this is important too is look at the trail here. Everybody's being distracted from where the real problem is. Went through. Did you hear they hacked Michigan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We need to get through. We need to go through more of this. But the point being is that they've had him incarcerated since March for speaking out on it. You're not even, remember when Jocelyn Benson said to all of us in Michigan, if you question the elections, we're coming for you. You know, it's like.
Those are words spoken by a terrorist.
Yeah, it is. She's a terrorist. It's like, you know, I hate to say it, but you sorry piece of crap, you come after us and you hit real patriots with something, you're going to have a handful of whoop ass in the courts. Because some of us are not afraid.
Right. Yeah. I mean, right now, well, as you know, I'm currently being investigated by the Bar Association for practicing law without a license.
Oh, that's what the Attorney General's office wanted to slap me with, too, is practicing law without a license.
And I'm having fun with it.
Yeah, none of them have a license. So
right.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. You want to try it? Go ahead. Make my day. I'm going to have fun with these clowns.
Yeah, flash your country club bar card at us. We're just going to laugh at you.
Right.
So, well, this is awesome. What a great show as usual. I love getting on here with you on the program on BNN. It's just you bring so much information to this, and it's just fun to talk to somebody else who is a true researcher and not, you know, part of the village idiots out there that jump on headlines. I'm so done with it.
Well, you know, a lot of people are like, well, how do you know this is going to work? How do you know that's going to work? I said, well, you know what? I'm going to find out because I'm pushing this through. I know it's going to end up in federal court. Now, a lot of people jump the gun. They jump the fence in saying, well, I'm not going to pay property taxes anymore. Let them try and come after me. Then they get in the court and they lose. Well, why did I lose? I used all the talking points. You're not using all the talking points and you're not applying them correctly. Number one, this is not a state issue. This is a federal issue. They say, well, property taxes, that's a state issue. Yes, on its face. However, property taxes goes back to the Northwest Ordinance, 1787. What was the intent of Congress? Now that makes it a federal issue. So everybody's fighting their taxes in the wrong court.
Right.
They got to go to federal court to fight it, not state court. And the Bar Association is going to do everything they can to try and keep you in the state courts because they got the judges, their fellow bar thugs, all working together to make sure that you don't win. So we're going to tie the property taxes together with the FBI report and the fact that they are operating as a domestic terrorist organization. We're going to bring all this together into one fold, and let's see how they handle that.
Well, and to your point on this too, we need to need to revisit the conflict. And here you go. I'm going to throw it out there between the North and the South and the Civil War, because I think what we're going to find out is by switching all of these issues to an emotional issue, such as property tax and property owners that are having their rights violated, they are violated, but they can steer you with their only option that they give you in the direction they want you to go. Same thing happened with the Civil War. That really, if you look at the core, it was about destroying states' rights and federalizing the nation and putting the power in the hands, the collectivist power. And they've been trying to do that from the beginning of this nation. It's always about destroying the local jurisdiction and moving everything to the federal where they can cheat and own everything. Probably 95 to 97% of the federal government needs to be nullified and abolished. Same thing for the state of Michigan. If we went to a 90% nullification in Michigan, there's your answers. It's for me. If I had gotten in as governor in 22, I was going to pause all taxes. And under the unitary executive, you have the ability to do that as a governor. And
last two talking points.
Go ahead.
And we're good. I know we're running along here.
Sit here and talk all day, so I'll spare everybody.
I have to go to work yet. So last two talking points. One is to clarify, when I'm talking about abolishing the property taxes, this is a two-tiered approach or two-tiered system here, meaning that what I'm looking to do right now covers all the states within the Northwest Ordinance. Okay, only. Once those states have been cleared of having to pay property taxes, then a second lawsuit would have to be filed that will encompass the rest of the nation. So when I speak about eliminating property taxes, it's only for the states under the Northwest Ordinance to start with. Once that's accomplished, then we can file a second lawsuit that will cover the rest of the nation. So it's a step. There's a first step and a second step to this whole process. The other thing is, and I just had this conversation 2 days ago with somebody. I said the difference between Donald Trump and me, if I were president, okay, is this: on national TV, I would bring together all of Congress, okay, House, Senate, everybody, one big room. And I would ask them, please, by a show of hands, raise all your hand if you feel that you have been operating as a de jure officer in your de jure office, and see how many raise their hand. And my guess is probably none.
Because they wouldn't even know.
If I had one or two that did raise their hands, I'd have a file there going, well, you did this, this, and this. So no, you weren't operating de jure. Therefore, Sergeant of Arms, take them all into custody. I've got a plane ticket for them to Gitmo.
I'm right there with you.
And then an announcement to the nation: we're going to hold special elections, and you're going to reelect your representatives of the Republic. And they are to be de jure at all times. Otherwise, they're going to Gitmo too. Let's start cleaning house.
I agree that we have some deep house cleaning to do. There's no two ways about it. And I think that's fantastic. Well, it's a great way to end the show. This has been a great show. Curtis said too that he thinks that this is one of the best episodes, the most impactful episode that we've had on BNN. I love it. I love going off the rails into these things and doing real research. And that's quite honestly why I've stopped talking to so many influencers. I'd rather have people like yourself or myself that are actually doing something and getting down to the real issue. Well, why don't we say a prayer a minute? We're going to go around about our day, and then the next week we're going to be doing same place, same bat time, same bat channel right here on Brandenburg News Network.
Sounds good.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for giving us this gift of this beautiful world that you created, the United States of America, and the blessings that you've given us here with good people to stand with. The American experience, experiment that we're in was never about what we're seeing right now. It's about the people and the things that we believe in, and standing together and defending each other's rights, standing up for one another, and really operating like a family, your family. We're so thankful for everything you've given us. We're thankful for the work of the founding fathers, that they put forth the documents, the trust, the contracts to hold everyone accountable and ensure those rights. We just need to do a little maintenance right now. And I know that you're guiding us through this whole process, and we're so thankful. Of all things, I ask that you turn this nation and every single person to have them have a real conversation with you, maybe with themselves, and introspection, and say, what's broken? You know what's broken? Everything. We are all broken, and apart from you, we can do nothing. We ask you, we invite you to come into every part of our lives and accept your gift of salvation by your precious Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. We are so thankful for you leading us out of this captivity by some very, very evil people who have taken it upon themselves to put their American brothers and sisters under bondage for their own self-interest, their own self-enrichment. And we're really pretty much disgusted and done with it. Thank you for showing us the way out of this. We trust you. We know that you're in charge. We acknowledge that this is your sandbox. You created this world, and we will live by the rules of that you've given us: honor, integrity, and doing whatever it is that your will be done, not ours. We don't want our will be done. We want your will be done in all situations. And we thank you for being such a good friend to us, for staying with us even when we fail, and walking with us and helping us to become what you envision our lives to be. And only you know that plan. We thank you so much for everything. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Which is where we go next, boys and girls, to, let's see, I got to get the right hand because it's always backwards for me. Ding, 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 ding. Go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com, because I'm best non-conceited who's ever not conceited in the history of the United States of America. And I'd like to have a discussion with the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, in cowboy boots. Who wears it better, me? And then we talk about what's actually happening here. Thank you to every one of you out there. I know that if you're here on this channel, I'm sure there's people that are watching it trying to figure out what's Brandenburg and Bambas doing now, right? Well, that's good. Hope you learned a lesson today. But for the rest of you guys who are here, I know that there are so many wonderful people out there that are trying to do the right thing for your families, for the country, and to sort through the fog of war that we're in. We are in a fog of war right now. And we have to remember that this isn't your fault. You know, you can't take the fault of evil, but you can take the fault of your choices. So make good choices. Go out there today and be a force for good. Stop and look people in the eyes. Give them the encouragement that they need. Bring somebody cookies or something today to let them know that they care. So many people are so lost out there and alone. That's why our suicide rates are high. That's why people are resorting to drugs and things like that to help push the pain of life down. When we stand strong in the power of God Almighty, and He gives us the grace, the peace, the strength, the provision to walk through anything, unafraid, and with His strength, not our own. We can't do it on our own, but with God, all things are possible. Have a great day today. I'll be on tomorrow with Liberty Essentials. And I think Greg Martini's on tomorrow talking about notices again. All people that are doing wonderful work to restore the Republic. So anyhow, God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love. And God bless America. Make it a great day. And I'll see you tomorrow. Please stay on the line, Mike.
Okay.